My name is Alex, and all my life, I thought I understood love, but I was so wrong. For years, I believed love was about control, possession, keeping people close so they couldn't leave me. I thought love meant being in charge, making sure no one could hurt me by leaving or disappointing me. I was proud of this idea, thinking it was the way to keep relationships safe and lasting. But everything shattered in one instant. It happened on a rainy night when I was driving home after a bitter fight with my partner. The words exchanged were sharp, filled with anger and pride. I was convinced I was right and refused to apologize. My heart was closed, full of resentment. Then the car slipped on the wet road. Time slowed, the world tilted, the screech of tires, the crunch of metal, the flash of headlights, and then darkness. I left my body floating above, watching paramedics rush over me, hearing distant voices. The pain was gone. Fear tried to grip me, but something deeper took over, an intense calm. Then I saw him. Jesus stood in a light so bright, it wasn't harsh but gentle, filled with a love I had never known. His eyes locked with mine, not judging, not angry but sorrowful, and full of compassion. "You were wrong about love," he said softly. The words hit me like a thunderclap, and suddenly all my defenses, my pride, my bitter notions of love crumbled. I realized I had been blind to what love really means. And that was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything I believed about myself, about love, and about God. As his gaze held mine, I felt a flood of emotions: shame, regret, but also a profound yearning I had never dared to admit. Jesus' eyes weren't just looking. They were seeing every hidden corner of my soul, every wound, every fear, every lie I had believed about love. He didn't condemn me. Instead, his look was filled with sorrow that I had carried so much pain, so much loneliness, masked by control and pride. "Alex," he said, "love is not about possession. Love is not about control. True love is free, self-giving, and vulnerable." I wanted to argue, to defend myself. I wanted to tell him I was protecting myself, that love had hurt me too many times. But his presence made me silent. I felt exposed, raw, but safe, in a way I had never felt before. He led me through memories, moments when I had pushed people away, clung too tightly, demanded more than I could give, moments when my fear of loss made me a prison guard instead of a lover. Jesus showed me that love is not about owning another person, but about setting them free, freeing myself from fear, pride, and selfishness. That real love is a gift freely given, expecting nothing in return, embracing vulnerability. I felt tears burn in my eyes as he spoke about mercy, mercy that begins with forgiving myself and others, mercy that heals wounds deeper than I realized I carried. "You were wrong about love," he said again, "but it's never too late to learn." In that moment, I began to understand that love is not a weapon but a healing balm, not a chain but wings to fly. I wanted to stay in that light forever, to let this truth soak into every broken part of me. But the journey was only beginning. As I stood there in the light, bathed in the gaze of Jesus, my mind began to unravel. The beliefs and defenses I had clung to for so long started to fall apart, one by one. I saw, with painful clarity, how my understanding of love had been shaped by fear of rejection, abandonment, and pain. To protect myself, I had built walls of control and demanded loyalty as a safeguard. But those walls had only isolated me and those I claimed to love. Jesus gently guided me through memories. I had buried deep moments when I had pushed away those who cared, moments when my pride refused to bend, and times when I used love as a bargaining chip. I saw the damage I had caused, the loneliness I had cultivated, and the emptiness behind my so-called strength. Yet, in his presence, I was not met with condemnation, but with profound compassion. He showed me that the wounds I had inflicted on myself and others were not the end of my story. Through his love, healing was possible. He said, "Alex, love is not about control or possession. It is about surrender. It is about opening your heart, even when it is broken, and trusting in a love that never fails." I felt my pride dissolve, replaced by a raw humility. The truth of his words, cut through my soul like a sword and a balm simultaneously. It was terrifying and freeing all at once. This was the beginning of a new understanding, a new way of living and loving that required courage, vulnerability, and faith. I wanted to hold on to this moment forever, but I knew I had to return to live out this love in a world that had never taught me how to love rightly. As I journeyed deeper into this encounter, Jesus began to unveil the profound depths of true love, far beyond anything I had ever comprehended or experienced. He showed me that love is not a tool for control or possession, but a living force that transforms, heals, and sets free. He spoke of love as the very essence of go-to-self-giving, unconditional, sacrificial love that reaches out to the broken, the lost, and the hurting. This love is patient and kind. It does not envy or boast. It is not proud or rude. It does not insist on its own way, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Jesus revealed how his love was made perfect through suffering, that the cross was not just an instrument of death, but a symbol of ultimate love poured out for humanity. He invited me to understand that true love embraces vulnerability and sacrifice, choosing the good of the other above self-interest. I was shown the power of forgiveness as an act of love, and not a weakness, but a strength that breaks chains and heals wounds that seem irreparable. This love heals relationships, restores souls, and bridges divides. In the light of his revelation, I saw how my previous notions of love were shallow and incomplete. I realized that real love requires humility, patience, sacrifice, and above all, trust in a love greater than ourselves. Tears streamed down my face as I absorbed this truth. The weight of my past misconceptions lifted, replaced by a profound yearning to live out this love fully. Jesus looked into my eyes again and said, "This is the love you were created for, Alex. Will you embrace it?" With my heart laid bare and trembling, I whispered, "Yes." In the glow of his presence, Jesus extended his hand to me, a gesture of invitation and healing. The weight of years filled with misunderstandings and broken relationships pressed heavily on my soul. I had carried wounds inflicted by others, but also wounds I had inflicted upon myself through pride, anger, and fear. Jesus spoke gently. Mercy is the bridge that connects broken hearts to wholeness. It begins with forgiving yourself and others, releasing the chains of bitterness and regret. As I reached out and took his hand, I felt a warmth spread through me like a healing balm, soothing the deepest pains I had long buried. Images of past conflicts, harsh words, and lost opportunities floated before me. But now, instead of shame, I felt the possibility of restoration. I understood that mercy was not weakness. It was the courage to embrace vulnerability, to accept imperfection, and to open the door to transformation. Jesus showed me that through mercy, love could flow freely, cleansing wounds and rebuilding what had been broken. It was a divine power that I could now carry within me, a source of strength for my journey ahead. Tears streamed down my face as I surrendered my pain to him, feeling a profound sense of peace wash over my heart. "Go now, Alex," he said softly. "Live in mercy. Be a beacon of hope and healing." In that moment, I was not the same person who had arrived. I was a new creation, ready to walk a path marked by grace and love. As the light around us pulsed softly, Jesus spoke of a life transformed by love, a life that no longer seeks control or selfish gain, but embraces sacrifice, service, and humility. "Alex," he said, "the love I offer is not easy. It demands everything of you, but it also gives everything back, a fullness of life you have never known." He showed me glimpses of the future, a path where love is lived daily in small acts of kindness, forgiveness, and courage. A life where I would be called to love those who are difficult to love, to serve rather than be served, to bear burdens without resentment. Jesus reminded me that this path would be challenging. There would be moments of loneliness, misunderstanding, and pain, but he promised to be with me always, the source of strength and hope. I saw myself standing before crowds not with anger or pride, but with humility and a heart open to healing and reconciliation. My voice would no longer be a weapon, but a bridge. My actions would speak louder than my words. The child I had met earlier smiled, a symbol of the lives touched by this new love. I realized that this was not just a call to love others, but to love myself, to accept grace, to forgive, and to grow. With a heart both heavy and hopeful, I said yes to this new way of living. As the light around me began to soften, I felt myself being drawn back to my earthly body. The sensation was both painful and wondrous, a painful return to the brokenness of flesh, but a wondrous awakening to a new way of seeing the world and myself. When I opened my eyes, the sterile lights of the hospital room greeted me. Faces blurred, voices murmured, but inside me, everything had shifted. I was no longer the man who had entered that car or walked that path of control and fear. I was changed, filled with a love I had only glimpsed in that other realm. The days that followed were difficult. Physical healing was slow, but the healing of my soul was profound and relentless. I wrestled with guilt, shame, and the weight of past mistakes. Yet, I was sustained by the memory of Jesus' gaze and his gentle correction. You were wrong about love. I sought forgiveness from those I had hurt, including myself. I learned that humility was not weakness but strength, the strength to admit faults and open oneself to grace. My relationships began to transform. I listened more, judged less, and loved with an openness I never thought possible. I realized that love is not a possession to be held tightly, but a gift to be freely given, a fire that burns brighter when shared. Though the path ahead was uncertain, I faced it with courage, knowing that I was never alone. Jesus had shown me a new way to live, a way of love that is patient, kind, and unending. In the months and years that followed my near-death experience, the transformation within me only deepened. The love Jesus revealed was no longer a distant idea, but the guiding force of my life. I learned to love without conditions, without fear, without the need to control or possess. I embraced vulnerability as a strength and humility as a path to freedom. I shared my story openly, not just to inspire, but to invite others into this deeper understanding of love. I spoke of mercy, forgiveness, and the power of grace to heal even the most broken hearts. The journey was not without challenges. Old habits, doubts, and fears sometimes crept back, but each time, I returned to the memory of those eyes filled with patient, unwavering love. I found joy in serving others, in being a light to those struggling with their own wounds and misunderstandings about love. The child I met during that profound encounter became a symbol of hope, a reminder that every life matters and that love is the answer to all wounds. Now, I walk a path of radical love, a love that chooses forgiveness over resentment, service over selfishness, and grace over judgment. This love has set me free, and I hope it can do the same for anyone willing to open their heart. If you hear my story, know this: true love is not what the world tells you. It is deeper, harder, and more beautiful than you can imagine. It is the love that Jesus offers to each of us, a love that heals, restores, and transforms. May you find the courage to let this love change you, just as it changed me.